still trying to wrap my head around this, but we recently hit 2 million subscribers on this channel. That is just such an unbelievable number to me. Like, I actually cannot believe that that really happened. This is gonna sound really weird, but sometimes I forget that people actually watch my videos. Like, obviously I know that you watch them and I read the comments and I know that you're here, but when I'm just sitting in my room recording the videos, I feel like I'm just talking to myself like I used to when I was a kid and I first started. So it is just really wild to me that so many people have decided to stick around and play Sims with me like this. Doing YouTube has genuinely changed my life. I mean, this is the coolest thing that has ever happened to me, and I am so grateful for all of you and this community that we've built. It really, really is special, so thank you so much. And I wanted to do something kind of fun to celebrate 2 million subscribers, and in true Simsie fashion, I have turned it into a build challenge. When we hit 1 million subscribers, I tried to make a house that cost exactly 1 million simoleons, so I thought I might as well do it again for 2 million, but I tried to make it a little bit more interesting this time. So yes, the challenge was to make a lot that costs exactly 2 million simoleons, but instead of just one house, I built 4. So basically it's an entire neighborhood of really expensive mansions. So let's just dive straight into the game and I'll start showing you what I've built because this video is long enough already. So as you can see, this is a massive lot. It's one of the biggest builds I've maybe ever done in The Sims. Obviously it's a 64 by 64 lot and there's 4 separate houses here. The build is kind of laid out like it's a street and there's 4 houses down the road. Originally, I was thinking about making it into like kind of a nice city street sort of vibe, but I ended up swapping it and putting like a fountain in the middle and a park in the back. So it's not really a drivable street, but that's The Sims 4 for you. Nothing is drivable in this game. And then as far as the houses themselves go, I built 4 separate ones. They're all 4 different styles. And I tried my best to have each of them cost around 500k each. As you're watching this, you're gonna maybe start getting alarmed about the budget, and not in the normal way. Like usually you watch it go down and you think, oh no, we have no money left and we've got a ton of house to finish. In this case, you're gonna watch me get like halfway into the video and there's still like 2 million simoleons left and you're gonna think, Kayla, how is this house gonna cost 2 million total if you've not spent any of it yet? It was kind of starting to worry me too because I had built like half of the build. I had spent like 5 hours on it in real life and I still had like 1.6 million left. That's because all of the exterior stuff is cheap. So I was doing like windows and landscaping and it wasn't that expensive. It's when you start furnishing that it really goes down fast. These houses are also kind of weird because they're actually mostly base game, and that wasn't intentional. I wasn't like seeking out making a base game build. And there are quite a few packs on this lot, but generally speaking, a lot of it is from the base game because a lot of the most expensive items in the game are base game. Think like the 15,000 simoleon violin, or like the 12,000 simoleon bed, the fridge that costs 13k, the knight statue that's like 8,500. All of those things are base game. So I was using that stuff a lot. I was also using a lot of the same furniture over and over again, kind of a mix of that base game set and some of the Get Famous stuff, just because I was really trying to spend the money. It kind of sounds weird to say, but the goal of this was not necessarily for it to look good. It was for it to be expensive. And that doesn't mean that it looks bad. It just means that I had different priorities. I also really couldn't clutter this as much as I wanted to. That's the thing. If I had done just one house, we probably could have really gone out and cluttered it a little bit more. But because there are 4, I couldn't like overly clutter every single room like I maybe normally would. Because by the end of this, the game was struggling because there's so much on this lot. It was really having a hard time running. It was getting slow. Hopefully it won't be as obvious in this video because it's sped up. But in real time building this, it was rough. And I don't think anybody's surprised by that. It's The Sims 4. Like, of course it was being like that. So the first house that we built is kind of this like classic colonial style on the right side. And now we're moving on to the second house. And this one is more of a Tudor style. I was actually having a lot of fun with the styles of these builds because they are so different. It's rare that you get to build this many different things all on just one lot. I think that this Tudor house is my favorite one out of all of them. And this one is probably the most expensive as well because I ended up putting like a wine cellar and stuff in the back. We're gonna be kind of going all over the place in this speed build as well. I'm just warning you now because we sort of started off by building a lot of shells and then I went back and furnished them one by one. But I wanted to have at least a base finished, like the base of each building before I started furnishing. We're kind of in like the planning phase right now of the build. And this planning phase took me hours. It took me a full stream. I live streamed this on Twitch. It took me a full 6-hour stream and then 2 more 3-hour streams to finish this build. And I actually streamed the first half of this here on YouTube, which was kind of fun because I don't really stream on YouTube very often, but considering I was doing a build to celebrate a YouTube milestone, I felt like I probably should, right? That was a while ago though. I did build this in May. I haven't posted the video yet because I have a second 2 million subscriber video that I'm still posting soon and it's taking me a long time to finish. So I just wanted to make sure that I waited until they were done closer together before I posted this, but I have been sitting on this build for a while and I am sorry about that. In my defense, we passed 2 million subscribers during my charity fundraiser back in May, which was actually really cool because we hit 2 million subscribers and then $2 million raised very close together. So that was like genuinely amazing. However, because I was in the midst of my charity event, I did not have as much time to work on this video as I would have liked. I was a little bit busy, you might say, which is a good problem to have. Anyway, on to the next house now. And this one is like the blue Suburban of the group. I knew we had to have at least one blue Suburban. If you're new to the channel or maybe you haven't heard this meme before, I sort of get made fun of because a lot of my builds end up being blue. And the phrasing blue Suburban, I don't even know how to explain this because a suburban house is kind of a weird descriptor. Think like Willow Creek energy, okay? Most of the Willow Creek stuff is kind of suburban, almost like the Pancakes house kind of has suburban vibes. That kind of like cookie cutter, you see it in the movies about America, that sort of house. I tend to like to build houses like that. And I also tend to have a lot of blue in my Sims builds. So the meme is that, oh, Lil Simsie's making a blue suburban again. I will defend myself a little bit and say that the game has a lot of blue in it, okay? The base game especially has so many blue swatches, so it's not entirely my fault. I can only work with what I am given, and I am given a lot of blue. But I knew that when I did this $2 million build, we had to have at least one blue suburban. Like, we had to do it. So this one is kind of supposed to be like a Cape Cod sort of style. I had so much trouble with the shape of this one. Even just looking at this part right now, I'm horrified. This is a trust the process part of the build, okay? I don't really know about how this exterior is looking, but I swear it did come together a bit more. And honestly, this is not that big. I probably should have made a different style house for the blue suburban because this one is like way too small for it to cost 500,000 simoleons. You can see it. The upstairs is tiny. Like, how am I gonna spend all that money in this tiny little space? But I definitely struggled with this one probably the most out of all 4 of the houses. And I struggled a lot with the furnishing too because I was really trying to put expensive stuff and just not having enough space to do it. I do like that it has the balcony and I like the shape of the back. I tried to put in a little guest house sort of vibe. I put pools in all of them because pools are expensive. I was kind of grasping at straws trying to find places to spend money. I will say that this one was the most difficult for me to build, but if I had to pick one of the houses to live in real life, I would probably pick this one. I really like this sort of Cape Cod style. All 4 of these houses are very wishful thinking because this is so different from anything that is around where I live. I live in Florida and the houses in Florida are like, I don't want to call them ugly, but they are a little bit most of the time. I think they like to build a sort of Spanish style house, but do it extremely cheaply so it looks bad. Is kind of what happens most often around where I am. You never see anything like any of these 4 builds here. The brick house especially, there's like no brick houses around where I live at all. It's so funny how different it can be in different regions because you might live in a place where it's only brick houses and you like hate it, but for me, I think brick is amazing. I would love to live in a brick house. I have always thought they were so pretty. And this style house, this last house, is sort of a Victorian style home. It's got a huge wraparound porch. This one is also kind of a dream house for me. And there's nothing like this here. They do not build stuff like this in Florida. In my mind, this house is really old as well. I think this whole neighborhood is probably very old houses. Now this house, it ends up being relatively simple in color scheme. The outside is mostly just white paneling. I kind of wanted to have it be a little bit more subtle because there's so many darker colors with the brick and like the dark Tudor house. So this one is very light and bright, but it's really pretty. I really love a Victorian house. This is also, I guess, kind of a trust the process situation because I swapped the side the tower was on. So for a second there was 2 of them. And that was probably scary for you. So I'm sorry. You're probably like, oh no, Kayla, what are you doing? What are you doing? But you can kind of see what I mean by how I was getting scared about the budget. Because at this point, I've basically built the shell of 4 houses and I still had 1.9 million simoleons left. So I was looking at that number and I was like, oh no, we have to spend 2 million full simoleons more. But it ended up being okay. It was panic for no reason. It was fine. I tend to use these speed builds kind of like a podcast sort of vibe. Always have. I've kind of just sat here and rambled during them about things that are going on in my life, and I feel like today should be no different. If we're truly trying to honor the roots of this channel, we really should just chat a little bit. That just feels right to me. So while I'm finishing up this shell, I might get a little bit emotional. I know I kind of mentioned it earlier, but I still literally cannot believe that there are 2 million people subscribed to this YouTube channel. When I started making Sims videos, I was 16. I was a massive fan of other Sims YouTubers, and I was like, you know what? I like this kind of thing. I was taking like video production class in high school. I was like, I like this kind of thing. I like The Sims. I wonder if I could make Sims videos. And so I kind of just started for fun because I wanted to have an excuse to play Sims, and I liked the idea of making videos and being creative and stuff like that. People ask me a lot like, oh, why did you start YouTube? And the answer is, I don't know, I just kind of felt like I could, which is so silly. But I'm so glad that I did, because seriously, it has changed my life. You know what's so funny as well? Looking back on those days, I don't know how many of you were around Sims YouTube back then in like 2016, 2015, but it was so different. A lot of my oldest videos are privated just because they aren't good. Like my original speed builds, I used to just have music on them. Like it would be sped up build footage with royalty-free music in the background and no talking. And it would be like a 15-minute long video and that's it. So I privated a lot of those because they had copyright music or it was getting like copyright claims. But I literally used to not talk in them at first. I did make a few Let's Play videos back in the day. I started off with the 100 baby challenge and I had a legacy challenge called the Steel Family back then. I never finished it. It wasn't 10 generations, but I did used to make a series like that. And those videos I talked in, regrettably. I was so annoying when I was in high school. It's honestly embarrassing to have videos of you talking when you were in high school on YouTube because like, listen, my opinions were not valid back then. No one should have been listening to a word that I was saying back then. I have literally grown up on YouTube. I'm almost 25 now and I started when I was 16. I was in high school making YouTube videos. I went to college making YouTube videos. Now I bought a house and I'm married, still making YouTube videos. It's really wild when you think about it like that. But yeah, back when I first started, I didn't have any face cam on my videos. Honestly, thank God, because I probably looked pretty goofy too back then. I sounded goofy. I said goofy things, probably looked goofy. Oh my gosh, the cat is here now. If you see a tail or like a random ear, just don't worry about it. But back then, really nobody made face cam videos. Like pretty much every single Sims video ever was just video of gameplay. And there was usually voiceover, but no camera. I started doing face cam videos regularly when I was in college. I don't really even remember why. I think I started doing it on like special occasion videos, and then I kind of fell into doing it on every single video. Honestly, I think that when I started streaming, it really changed my perspective on that. I like felt more comfortable being on camera because I didn't start live streaming on Twitch until I went to college because I had terrible internet at my parents' house, but in my dorm, I had fantastic internet. I missed that. It was like 1,000 up. It was so good. So I finally had good enough internet to stream and I had facecam on my streams, so I kind of just got more used to it, I guess. So I started putting it in all of my videos. But I will never forget, I did a face reveal when I hit 10,000 subscribers on this channel. I think that's definitely privated as well. Like I definitely don't have that up anymore, thank God, because embarrassing, so embarrassing. But I think that was the scariest day of my life. I don't know why I was so scared. I think I was just insecure because I was young, but I was so afraid to post a video with my face in it. At the time, I didn't have like any pictures of my face anywhere on my channel. I had like a drawn profile picture, and I was fully convinced that if I posted a face cam video, everybody would unsubscribe. Like that was fully in my mind. I was like, they're all gonna leave because they're gonna think I'm like ugly and annoying and unsubscribe. Why? Nobody would think that. Well, some people think that, but that's okay. But I was really, really insecure back then. I remember I posted that video and I cried for hours. I never read the comments on that video. Even to this day, I haven't read the comments on that video. It might be fun to go back and look at them now because they're probably nice, but I was like so scared they were gonna be mean to me in the comments that I never read them the whole time. And that was probably 8 years ago. The other really funny thing about Sims YouTube back then is that we used to use the same thumbnail for every single video. So like if I posted a Let's Play episode, I would title the video like 100 baby challenge number 4, and then it would be the same thumbnail. Like it was just a picture of a Sim's face and like a Sim's background, like maybe like a picture of grass or something. Not grass, but like, you know, environment. It'd be like the background of Windenburg and my Sim's face in the front, and it would say 100 baby challenge, but there wouldn't be like anything about the individual episode. We would use the same thumbnail. So I probably have like 100 videos on my channel of that series with the same thumbnail. I don't even think I used to put numbers on the thumbnail. It was just the same image, re-uploaded over and over and over again. But like everybody did that back then. All of the Sims creators did it. We all did it. I think that just YouTube in general was different back then, so everybody kind of did that. I'm not really sure what other games were doing at the time, but I bet that maybe a lot of the Minecrafters did that too, although I'm not really sure. I don't remember. You know what else is wild is I used to upload every single day when I was in high school, obviously, because I've always uploaded every day. But I used to be in high school. I would come home from school. I would do all my homework. I was in like 50 million AP classes. I don't know how I was doing all of that. I would get home from school. I would do homework for hours until like 8 p.m. Literally no free time. Then I would record a video. I would probably record like a Let's Play episode, and I might record for like 30 minutes straight, and then honestly like basically straight upload it. I would put it in my editing software. I would cut out like any serious pauses or like awkward intro parts. And when I mean serious pauses, I mean like if my mom came in the room and interrupted me, I'd probably cut that part out. But otherwise, I would kind of just like straight upload it. I wouldn't like watch the whole thing back. I wouldn't like cut anything out of it really. I would just kind of post it, and I would like export it that night and then schedule it for the next afternoon. And I did that every single day. Now I record for significantly longer for every video and like actually get them edited and cut down. My husband Dan edits all of my videos these days. I know that sometimes he makes some mistakes and there's a couple repeats left in. It's never on purpose. He's just editing a lot of videos every single day, and if you knew how many times I actually repeat myself in these videos, you would laugh at me. But anyway, it used to not be as bad. Maybe now I think about it too much, but I used to do it all by myself. I would edit all of them by myself. Again, I was barely editing them though. It was sort of a different type of content, I guess, because I was trying so hard to upload still while I was in school. I don't think that would fly as well anymore. I don't think that people would be as interested in content like that was like so, I mean, A, short, but B, just like kind of not edited or like good at all. But it was like 2017. I don't know. It really is funny to look back on that though. I really think it's especially wild to look back on those times now though, because I never in my wildest dreams ever could have imagined that I would have 2 million subscribers on YouTube someday. Like when I think back to when I was younger and when I first started, I would have laughed in your face and not believed you if you told me, hey Kayla, in 2024 you're gonna have 2 million subscribers. I don't even know if I would have believed that I would still be doing YouTube in 2024. Because I think anybody, when they first start this, they're like, it's a hobby, you're doing it for fun for now. I was in school, so I thought that, you know, I'd probably stop when I went to college or something. I don't know what I thought, I guess. But I was only 16, so I wasn't really thinking about me being 24. You know, it wasn't like a career choice. It was just like I want to make Sims videos, so I did. And I really got so lucky. My channel kind of picked up a little bit when I was in college. And so I was able to start making enough money to support myself when I was in college. By the time I graduated, I was able to like actually support myself and like see if I could make it work as a job. And it worked out. It did work out. I graduated college in May of 2020, which was really weird timing because of the pandemic. And I just kept doing YouTube, obviously, and here I am still. That was actually a long time ago now too, which is kind of upsetting when you think about it. It feels like that just happened, but no, that was 4 years ago. But anyway, long story short, I am extremely lucky and I am extremely, extremely grateful to all of you for your support over the years with my channel. I literally am living my dream thanks to you, and it's really, really special, and I'm just so grateful. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you again, like from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And I should maybe talk about the build for a second. I rambled for a long time. We still have a ways to go in this video, but I should probably get into the build for a bit. So for the last few minutes, we've been kind of working on adding details. We had just finished all of the shells of the building, but now I'm actually going back in and like putting windows and putting landscaping and painting them and trying to figure out what it's actually gonna look like. And so this part took me a long time because it was like a major stylistic choice. This was kind of like all the big decisions that had to be made about how it was gonna look. And so it took me a little bit to figure it all out. Also, unfortunately, all of the windows that I used are kind of cheap. I was sad about that, but like I was using base game windows, they're like 50 simoleons. These cats and dogs windows, like 50 simoleons. It here I am trying to make this expensive house. We've only spent 120,000 simoleons. We are 20 minutes into this speed build and we've barely touched the budget. It's like we've made a little tiny dent in the budget. But I swear, once we start furnishing, the money goes down quick, okay? I should probably also warn you that I had to cut out a lot of parts of this footage. Again, it took me like 12 plus hours to build. Obviously, I cannot speed up a 12-hour speed build and put the entire thing in this video. We'd be here all day. So what I tried to keep instead was like, maybe I left in the landscaping of the front yard, but I cut out the landscaping of the backyard because it was sort of the same, just in a different place. I cut out things like bathrooms and hallways. I think I cut out some of the decorating of the street as well, just because it took so long to decide what to do. So if you're seeing things jump around and you're like, wait a minute, what happened? I'm so sorry, but I did have to cut some things out just because it was so long. I actually had a lot of fun with landscaping this build. I think I've realized over the years that my favorite thing to do in The Sims is build exteriors. I like to build like the shell of a house. I like to landscape it. I like to lay out the backyard. And it's not that I don't like furnishing. I do enjoy furnishing. I just think I like doing the exterior more. At least most times, not every time. You know, it's one of those things. You kind of get in the mood to furnish and stuff, but I really had fun landscaping this because I tried to make them somewhat similar so it looked like they could all be in the same place, but have individual unique landscaping per house. So each house kind of had a different flower color and I tried to make them a little bit special in that way. I mean, same thing with the full exterior of the building. I was trying to make every single exterior look a little bit different and a little bit unique. I really liked this pergola that I made on the back of the blue Suburban. I really loved the idea of that. I think it would be so cool in real life. I'm pretty sure that I put plants on top of it, which would maybe be less cool in real life because it feels like a little spider heaven to have all these plants up there on the roof. So maybe that would not be so good, but it looks good in The Sims and there's no spiders here, so we can avoid that at least. Doing those fake pergolas is one of my favorite things to do for these like little back patio porch covers. Basically, all I did was use a base game fence and I drew it in lines to make these little triangles, and then I tried to have it look like it was covering that patio. There are a couple pergolas in the game, like as furniture items. There's one in the base game. There's a couple from like Eco Lifestyle. We've got a couple from the wedding pack even. But this one is nice because you can sort of customize the size of it because you can put it anywhere. It's just basically a fence. And then in the back of this house, I was sort of kind of struggling to figure out ways to take up more space and spend more money. So the back of this house became like a little pool house. I was kind of thinking guest house energy. When I say pool house, honestly, I don't really know what that means. I kept calling it that when I was streaming this, and I would have people in the chat be like, hey, I don't speak English as a first language. What does a pool house mean? And then I was kind of like, you know, I'm not sure. Pool house is very rich people energy, not things that I have experienced in real life. Pool house is giving me like House in the Hamptons, like fancy people in their guest house type of vibe. But I think in my mind, a pool house is a guest house. Like it's a separate mini house in your backyard that maybe has like a bedroom and a bathroom and stuff. But because it's next to the pool, I think that it has like the pool bathroom. Because you know how these people like to have a separate bathroom that's easy access for guests to go inside and use while they're wet from swimming? The pool house has that bathroom. Maybe it has storage for pool stuff too, but in this case, I kind of turned it into like a hangout space. I put like a ping pong table and a TV in there. So it's like a games room. Maybe their teenage son hangs out in the pool house with his friends. Like that kind of energy is what I was going for. But I don't know what a person who actually has a pool house would use it for. I've never met one, so I'm not sure. There are a lot of words like that, like descriptors for things that happen in people's homes that are kind of like regional almost. So it means different things in different places, or like maybe you call it something different where you are. I think about like powder room, half bathroom, like those sorts of words. Those are kind of interchangeable, but you might call it something different where you're from. Pool house is one of those to me. It's one of those like interchangeable, not so sure what it means to everybody kind of words. All right, we're finally moving on now to that Victorian house to work on its exterior a little bit more. We've got to do all the windows on this one. And this one has kind of a fun backyard as well, because you see it has a building back there. It's not a pool house, it's a greenhouse. So I ended up putting a greenhouse back there and putting some nice big windows and stuff. Originally, I wanted to use a pink front door for this house. I've got that beautiful pink door from Strangerville, but I ended up swapping it out for the yellow swatch instead. I thought the yellow kind of worked better for this house, which I was sad about because I do love pink, but I was using these base game windows and they have that like little yellow triangle accent. So I was trying to match that a little bit. Also, you might have seen, but on the roof, underneath the roof, I guess you should say, I put a flooring pattern down, and I was doing that because I was trying to spend money. So underneath the roof where it's invisible. Like it's not an accessible floor. It's just underneath the roof. I put down that really expensive marble floor tile and I put that in all of the houses, in all of the inaccessible fake roof rooms. I put the marble floor tile because I think it's like 12 simoleons each, or maybe even more than that. So I was just putting that to try and spend some more money. And at this point, we have still barely made a dent in our budget, but it's slightly more of a dent. It is 1.83 million left instead of like, 2 million total. So we're getting there. And once we start furnishing, it comes together a bit more. Okay, I promise. I know I keep saying that, but seriously, I understand the panic. We are over halfway through. We still have so much money left. Imagine how I felt when I was doing this. I had spent like 6+ hours on it at this point, and I still had 1.8 million. I was kind of sat there like, oh no, I'm never gonna finish this. I'm never gonna be done with this. We've mostly finished the windows now, so I'm kind of swapping to the yellow thing at this point, and I'm also adding in some really pretty landscaping on this house. I think that this one has my favorite of all the landscaping. I used a lot of romantic garden stuff for this, so it's got a lot of pretty flowers, pretty yellow flowers specifically that I kind of placed around. Romantic garden stuff is so good for landscaping. If you're gonna get one pack that you want to landscape with, romantic garden is not a bad option because it's got a lot of really pretty flowers in it, and it's probably on sale right now because of the summer sale. I'm not actually sure, so don't take my word for that, but it might be. The other one that I think is best is cottage living. Cottage living is just a little bit more annoying because it's not in build mode. You have to get it from debug, so you have to use debug cheats to access all of it, but there's a ton of really good landscaping in cottage living debug. Most of the best stuff I would say is trees, but there's some really nice little flowers. There's some really nice little mushrooms that you can use. So if you're in the market for a landscaping pack, I don't know if anybody is, but those two are good options. And I know that cottage living is on sale with the summer sale right now, and it's probably way, way, way on sale. Actually, yeah, I just checked. It's 50% off. That's not bad. That is not bad. And actually, if you're planning on buying any packs in this summer sale, I'd really encourage you to use a creator's creator code at checkout. When you buy them in the EA app, you can put a code at checkout. There's a promo code box. It's not a promo code because you don't get like an extra discount, but there are creator codes. A lot of your favorite Sims creators will have one. I have one. It's just lilsimsie. You don't have to use mine, but if you're gonna buy a pack on sale, I would really encourage you to use somebody's creator code because they'll make a 5% commission. And actually right now it might be 7% because of the sale. So as an example, if you bought cottage living on sale for $20 right now and used a creator's creator code, they would get paid $1.40 from EA. And that's not bad. It adds up too if people are using their codes. So again, I'm not trying to plug my own. I want to remind you to at least use somebody's because it's a great way to support your favorite creator and doesn't cost anything extra to you. If anything, it's best case scenario because the creator makes money and then EA makes less money. So no one's gonna complain about that. But I am very pleased to announce that we are finally, at this point, moving on to furnish the houses. We are over halfway through, almost 2/3 of the way through, and we are finally furnishing the interiors. So I decided to start off with that Victorian style house, and this one is very yellow. I kind of was going for a white and yellow color scheme. I also tried to make it kind of an older, more closed off floor plan. I did cut out a lot of the floor plan designing because it took me so long to build all the walls, so I just cut it and left in the furnishing. And I started with the kitchen because the kitchen is the most expensive. This kitchen total costs like 30K if you count all of the counters and the expensive appliances. I mean, it's kind of scary. I do a lot of starter home building on my channel, and that kitchen alone costs more than the starter homes do. That's horrible. But you'll kind of see that as I was going through and doing this, I ended up having to use a lot of the same furniture over and over again. I kind of mentioned it earlier, but like there's only one chair that's really expensive. So I was kind of using that one over and over again. There's the best, most expensive dining table, the most expensive artwork. The artwork was kind of the biggest kicker, I think, for a lot of the houses looking kind of samey because there's a couple of paintings that are like 8,000 simoleons. So of course I wanted to use those around a lot of places, but then I was using the same art everywhere. So that was kind of sad. But again, the point was to have it be expensive. So I was committed to it. I think I just heard my cat has been sitting in that tree back there. Do you see the fake plant behind me? Snap's been sitting at the base of it a lot recently. I don't know why. It has like I don't know, it's like a fake straw sort of texture. So I guess it's like kind of squishy and it's nice because it's kind of tucked away, but she's been sitting there a lot. I've got a tree right here she uses, and I've got a little cat bed on the floor and she uses that all the time. More than the tree back behind me. But she's been sitting there a little bit the past few days. And then I hear like rustling back there and I realize, oh, the cat's in here. If you've been to my Twitch streams ever, especially recently, you've probably seen Snap on the cat cam. She always sits in the little bed that I have on the floor right here, and I just have a little webcam on her so I can film her during my streams. But I literally have my camera and then her camera on the stream together. If you're new to my channel and you didn't know, I have 3 cats. One of them, her name is Snap. She's the one who's in here if you hear rustling. And you saw her a second ago when she came onto my desk. She's 16. She actually just turned 16. Her birthday was back in June. My family adopted her when I was 9, so we grew up together, and then we moved out together when I came here to my house. She didn't like the dogs very much, so we thought it would be easier for her to live in a dog-free household, so we moved here together. Or I guess we moved to my old place together. It was a long time ago at this point. And then just last year, actually like exactly a year ago, I adopted 2 more kittens. I found a bunch of cats in a sewer, and I'm not kidding. I found a bunch of kittens and their mom in a storm drain by my parents' house. At the time, the kittens were about 5 weeks old, so I brought in mom and all 3 babies, and I fostered them for a while. I kept saying I was just fostering them, but then I ended up keeping 2 of the kittens, and then my family adopted the mom and the other baby. So we actually kept all of them. They're all black cats. All 4 are all black cats. So we went from having a couple of cats to all of a sudden having 4 more, and they're all black. But their names are Sunny and Shrimp. So Snap is the older cat, and Sunny and Shrimp are the 2 babies, and they are just over a year old. We found them on July 14th last year. So it's been almost exactly a year. I almost can't believe that either. It feels like just yesterday, but also like they've been here for 10 years. I don't know if that makes sense, but like I really have loved having these kittens. It's been so special to like rescue them and then have them grow up and like watch them grow to be more trusting of me, and now they sleep in the bed with me, and I just, yeah, it's very sweet. I love them very much. I really love my cats. I could sit here and talk about cats all day. I'm sorry. When I get rambling about cats, I just go on and on and on. We're finally moving upstairs, and you'll see that I cut ahead and cut out a couple of things here. I finished all of the bathrooms, and in the bathrooms, I used a lot of really expensive stuff. Specifically, the bathtub costs like $12K. So these houses have no showers. It's all bathtubs, especially in the smaller bathrooms. I think there's some that might have both, but I wanted to use that separate tub because it was so expensive. So I put that in like every single bathroom. There's like 4 of them in this house. I also used every most expensive bed ever. For example, the Get Famous bed, that one costs $15K. So I've got that in here. The bed in this room that we're doing right now is actually kind of cheap. It's like $3,000, but it looked good, so I used it. And that's pretty much the full Victorian house. We'll go back to that and I'll show you the finished product in the tour at the end of this video, because we're moving on to the Tudor house now. Again, starting with the kitchen. And thankfully, we have like 1.4 million left, which actually is not that bad. We're kind of on track now as we're furnishing them. See, it's fine. I went straight in with the most expensive kitchen appliances, and then I kind of went through and tried to have things like expensive TVs and expensive computers and expensive bookcases. Oh, I was trying so hard. This house has a very brown color scheme, and I'm sorry about that. It's not ideal. The other one is very bright and cheery and colorful. This one is not as much. It's not as good. But again, I was trying to make them different, so I think that's a good thing, maybe, that they're slightly different. It has this kind of brown and like mauve-y, purpley color. I was kind of inspired by the colors you'll see in the backsplash, and I've been made fun of recently for using that backsplash over and over again, and I know. I kind of didn't realize just how often I was using it until somebody pointed it out yesterday to me, and they were like, oh, here she goes again with that backsplash. And I was like, oh, yeah, I do use it over and over again. I use just that same one everywhere, but it's my favorite backsplash. It's the one that came in Home Chef Hustle, and it's so nice. It's really pretty with the tile. I think this just shows that they need to give us more backsplashes. We need more tile backsplashes in this game, because I love having them. I love having different pattern ones. I like how that one has some nice color, but it's kind of like how I had a phase where I used the Parenthood backsplash in every single kitchen. Now I use the new one from Home Chef Hustle in every single kitchen. What can I say? I'm a creature of habit, okay? And I'm sorry for that. So in this house, downstairs, there's a pretty big primary bedroom. I don't know if you can tell because I've been speeding around so much, but there's a pretty big downstairs level to this house. We've got on the far right side, the primary bedroom and an ensuite bathroom. There's a hall bathroom, and then we also have on the far left side, a big office. And then the middle is kind of like a nice big kitchen, dining, living room area all in one room. At this point, I was going through and putting a bunch of night statues like everywhere. These are the 8,500, 8,200 maybe simoleon night statues. And I was going through and putting those literally everywhere. I was sizing them down and using them like clutter on counters and on bookshelves and just tucking them away. That night statue has always had kind of a special place in my heart, because back in the day, I don't know how many of you played The Sims 3 or were like involved in the Sims community back then, but I am a legacy challenge fiend. Okay, I always have been. That was like my start, my roots of The Sims, was just liking to play legacy challenges. And at its core, a legacy challenge is where you buy a big giant lot in The Sims, and then you give your sim 1,800 simoleons and then start off with a big empty lot, basically, and try and go from there. And the whole idea is to play for 10 generations straight and like build up your house and your family over the course of 10 generations. There's a lot of derivative legacy challenges now where there's like the Not So Berry legacy challenge that I wrote and like lots of different things like that. But a default standard legacy has those rules. But the 1,800 simoleon thing comes from back in the day. The whole rules to starting one in The Sims 3 was that you would buy the biggest lot and then you'd buy your sim a knight statue and live there on the empty lot with just the knight statue, and you have 1,800 simoleons left. So the knight statue in The Sims 4, even though I don't play by those rules really anymore, I don't buy like the knight statue. I don't even always play on the same lot for legacies, but the knight statue in The Sims 4 really, it gets me because it reminds me of those days back when I was a kid. I used to only play legacy challenges, but I wouldn't really play them. I would like start one, play for 2 generations, get bored, restart. And then do it again and again and again. And what does that tell us? It tells us that I like to play rags to riches stories. Once my sim gets enough money, I get bored. Shockingly. It's almost like I do that all the time with Stanley Humphrey on my YouTube channel nowadays. Nobody's surprised by that behavior, but that has always been my favorite way to play The Sims. I really like the like grind and struggle for money. And now I feel the need to maybe apologize to you because we are moving on to furnishing one of the last houses. This is the brick house, and at this point, we've kind of gone off the deep end. I had been furnishing for a long time. We've done about half of the builds now. We've spent about half of the money. We're down to less than 1 million simoleons left, and I had been doing it for so long that I wanted to do something different. So I started using the Get Famous items, specifically the pink and zebra Get Famous items, and I don't really know what I was thinking with this. I know it's horrible. Like, this is a serious eyesore, but it's kind of fun. So I used the most expensive wood floor, all the most expensive furniture, this horrible hot pink accent color. Oh my gosh. This one, when I was building this, again, I was live, okay? So people would come into the stream and be like, oh, hey, Kayla, what are you doing? Oh. Like, they'd walk in and be like, oh, nice build. And then I would zoom in and they would see this and they'd think, oh, maybe not. Maybe it's not a nice build. It's embarrassing. It really is embarrassing. But it was fun. It was a good excuse to try and use these things because seriously, when else can you use the hot pink zebra print chair? Okay, I have literally not used that in years. So I wanted to have a chance to do it here. This house is pretty big as well. It's got a huge office space downstairs. It's got a laundry room. It even has a garage in the back. And then upstairs, there's a ton of extra bedrooms as well. Pro tip, I was doing ceiling paint like everywhere. Again, grasping at straws for ways to spend more money, but ceiling paint is good for this. I used a lot of the Modern Luxe kit here too, because the Modern Luxe kit had some really nice expensive stuff. And actually, I used the Decor to the Max kit because there's this hot pink peacock statue. I don't even know if I've ever put that in a build and been serious about it. So I put that next to the front door. I got to use the giraffe lamp. I mean, I was having a blast with this. The whole thing is very black and gold and hot pink, kind of is the vibe. Couple things that I actually kind of liked and like was serious about. I don't know about this fireplace in particular because the fireplace is from Vampires and it's maybe a little bit too ornate for this, but on either side of the fireplace, I put those little dressers that came in the luxury, what is it called? The Butler stuff pack. Vintage glamour, that's what it is. Vintage glamour. I was gonna say luxury glamour, but that's not correct. That's luxury party. That's different. But I put them on either side of the fireplace and I thought it actually looked pretty good. Oh my gosh, I've gotten this far into the build and I still have not given you any current life updates. If you've made it this far, you probably actually care, right? If you're still watching. I spent half this video talking about things from 10 years ago, but I actually have been up to some kind of cool stuff recently. I just got back from Europe. I went to Europe for TwitchCon. I flew into Amsterdam and stayed there for a couple of days, and then I went to Rotterdam for the convention. I had never been to Amsterdam before, so that was pretty fun to get to go and see it. I really enjoyed walking around. We did a lot of touristy things like going to museums and stuff while I was there. I know what Amsterdam is known for, so I know what you're thinking. I've been asked a lot if I did anything wild while I was there. The answer is no. I went to bed at about 7 p.m. most of the days. I was so jet lagged, especially the first day. Maybe not every day, but the first day I was in bed before dark. Granted, it gets dark at 10 p.m., but the first day our flight landed at like 7 a.m. in Amsterdam, except that's 1 a.m. here for me at home. And I barely slept on the flight. So like maybe I got an hour of sleep and then I was supposed to be awake at 1 in the morning. So that was a rough, long day of jet lag. We managed to make it through. I went around and I basically walked everywhere and did a lot of touristy touring around, which is a good way to spend the day and like keep myself awake. But I ended up going back to the hotel at like 5. We ordered food to the hotel and then fell asleep so early. So no, there was no anything wild going on while I was in Amsterdam. I was in bed. I wasn't up to anything. The convention was really fun too. I got to meet a lot of you while I was there, which I loved. I didn't really know what to expect from TwitchCon EU because obviously I'm not from the EU. You know, I didn't know how many of you would be there, but there was a lot of people at my meet and greet, which I was so thrilled by. I really didn't know what to expect going into it. So if I got to meet you, it was so nice. Thank you for coming. I always get quite nervous before meet and greets. I think that I just feel a lot of anxiety about like letting you down, which maybe is so dumb, but I don't know. You know lilsimsie from the internet, and like I'm way more upbeat and like not nervous and not shy in my YouTube videos than I am in real life. So I guess I'm always just a little bit nervous about like, I don't know, not meeting people's expectations of me or something in real life. But that's all in my head. I know it's all in my head, and it's always so nice to get to meet people. So anyway, thank you again if you came to the meet and greet. I will be at TwitchCon in the US. I'm gonna be at the US San Diego TwitchCon later this year. So if you're gonna be around, maybe I will see you there. But anyway, we are finally moving on to the last house. Now this is that blue suburban Cape Cod that I was telling you about. And this one, I stand by the fact I think is my favorite one and the one that I would probably want to live in. I went for, shocker, a sort of blue color scheme on the inside. And it's very blue and gold. It's like blue, white, and gold in here. I did really struggle with the floor plan. I had a really hard time figuring out where to put the kitchen. So there was some back and forth there, but once it came together, I thought it looked pretty good. I feel like kitchen placement just generally is kind of hard in a house that's shaped like this because A, there's so many windows. So there's not a lot of good places to put everything because I don't really want to have the stove in front of a window. I think that's kind of not ideal. I think it's nice to have a sink in front of a window, but I don't love the idea of the stove being there. And I also don't want to have the stove right next to the fridge. So I kind of just struggled with that. Plus there's not a lot of free walls to have like a corner shape for the kitchen. And I want to have a corner so I can maximize the amount of cabinet space. But in this case, I kind of built my own corner and then made a little formal separate entryway by the front door. And I think that worked out pretty well. This whole living space is quite wide and open. This part is going to become a living room. And then also downstairs, we've got a huge bedroom and a really fancy office, like sitting area. Now in this room, for some reason, I did not use the most expensive TV everywhere, but I used it here on this one. I was using kind of cheap TVs in the other places that were like 2,000. This one's like 8,000. So we are spending money on this. And believe it or not, at this point, we were actually kind of starting to worry about money. It looks like I've got a lot left. There's like 400K left, but I started going all out and putting like 8,000 simoleon night statues and 15K beds everywhere. And then I realized that I hadn't furnished any of the extra buildings. So think like that games room or the greenhouse or any of those garage spaces. And then I thought, oh no, I have like 30K left to do all 4 of them. That really isn't actually that much money. So after all of this worry about money, I kind of ran out at the end. I could have easily sold stuff, but I kind of liked the struggle. This was a roller coaster of emotions to go back from having 2 million to having like 200 and barely scraping by. It was also kind of fun at the very end when I had like 200 simoleons left and I was trying to spend exactly 2 million simoleons. So I was going through like looking for this plant's 50 and this picture is 100 and like trying to spend every last bit. I had like 3 simoleons left, so I was putting little wall decals. Like we were going in just trying to sneak by and get exactly enough money spent. But that, my friends, is the fully finished speed build. Like I said, I cut out a lot of stuff, so I want to pop back into the game live and give you a tour of the finished product and kind of show you around, point out some things. So like I was saying, I built this in Windenburg on the 64 by 64 lot. I did unfortunately have to evict these poor people. On the gallery, it's just called Mansion Neighborhood, and the photo is not the best. It does does not look very good from this angle, but you'll see it costs exactly 2 million simoleons. It also uses 1 million packs, maybe every single pack. I hate to say it. That's kind of scary how far you have to scroll. And I'm gonna place it real quick so we can tour around. Hopefully it does not crash as I try and do this. So this is what it looks like from a top-down view of the fully finished product. So you can see it is huge and there's a lot going on. I think I'll show you the communal spaces first. So when you first walk up, this is kind of what the street looks like. I put this little mailbox right here. It unfortunately has 3 and not 4, but it's okay. At least it works. And when you come down this little pathway, they kind of each have their own little front door pathways. And there's a really nice fancy fountain in the middle. I used some cool debug stuff. This is actually a combination of a debug end pillar to a fence and then a sized up light post. But I think that looks really nice like that. And when you come all the way down, you can keep going to different houses, or you can come into this little sculpture garden that I put at the very back. A couple places to sit, plus a wishing well, just because why not? And it's expensive. So it's like 7,000 simoleons. I really do like how these end pieces look. It's just unfortunate that they are debugged, so they're free. And I think we'll start with that Victorian house because I furnished this one first. So this is what the finished product of that house looks like. It's got some really nice, pretty landscaping. It's got a huge wraparound porch. I put things like a swing set in the front yard. And when you come inside the front door, you walk into this really nice little living space. They've got kind of a card table in this nook. We have a huge living room. I gave them a dog, so they've got a little dog bed and some toys. Down this hallway, we've got a really nice fancy kitchen, and then we have this big fancy dining room. There is a small bathroom downstairs, and then like a little office music room, kind of. I use this computer pretty much everywhere. I don't really like how it looks in the houses, but it's 10K, so it was kind of good to spend more money that way. When you go upstairs, there's a really tiny little hallway, plus a whole bunch of bedrooms. There's 4 bedrooms total, and like I said before, each of them has this 12,000 simoleon bathtub in their bathroom. This bed is 15K. I like this room best. It's kind of like princess energy in here. I was trying to put expensive beds and expensive computers pretty much everywhere. And then when you come outside, we have this huge pool. We've got some lounge chairs and a grill and some dining chairs. We've got this big greenhouse over here too. And that's kind of the full view of the first house. Let's move across the street for a second. This is that brick house. This one is pretty big and it has a garage, so it's got its own fake driveway. We've got a little garage back there. I tried to put a basketball hoop above it. This isn't functional because it's up too high, but I think it looks kind of cool. When you come inside the house, it's a little bit chaotic. This is the zebra print house. I don't even really know where to start with this one. I just put a lot of fancy gold and black stuff everywhere. Downstairs, we also have this really wacky office space. I used the tiger print wall with the zebra print rug. They do have a little laundry room. It's kind of like a mud room when you first come in. There's a closet. I've got the golden toilet in here because when else can you use it? Upstairs on this one, we've got 3 bedrooms, lots of zebra going on, lots of golden bathrooms and golden toilets. And then I also have a gym. Because why not? And then when you come downstairs into the back, we've got an observatory. I put a hot tub. There's a nice big pool and like a cool grill area and stuff. I actually really like this layout. I'm not sure about the observatory. That's kind of random, but it's cool. And then inside the garage, I made it into like a science lab. So I put all this random lab stuff, robotics equipment, computers. I don't really know what I was going for. I was just trying to do fun, exciting stuff. And then if we come down next door, this is the Tudor house that we talked about. This one is my favorite exterior. I really think this is beautiful. When you come inside this one, it's very brown and old-timey, lots of wood accents. The living space is actually kind of small. I wish that I had a dedicated dining room. I think that's my main problem with this one. But we have this nice big living area. I really like the fancy bookshelves with these little knight statues in there. There's like 4 knight statues in this room. And then down on this side, we've got another big bedroom and a couple bathrooms, plus a basement. In this basement, I put an expensive coffin and I put a vault full of money and knight statues. I don't know. I was desperate. And then when you come upstairs, we've got 4 more bedrooms. There's a couple of kids' bedrooms and stuff. So it's a 5-bedroom house total. Most of them are quite similar, just the same bed in different colors. And when you come outside, we've got a huge pool, a tree house. We've got some kids' playground equipment. This thing's actually kind of expensive. It's like $5,200, so I use that. And they have a wine cellar. So I've got this kind of back here. It's probably best if this were in the basement, but I had already built the creepy vault basement, so I decided forget it, just put it above ground. It's fine. And then lastly, the final house across the street is the blue Suburban. This is kind of what the exterior of this one looks like. They have kind of a little white picket fence section in their front porch. And then when you come inside, it's very long and skinny. We just looked at the furnishing of this place, but this is kind of a quick overview of the living room. Downstairs, we've got a small bathroom, a little office space right here with some really fancy bookshelves, again, with the knight statue and the knight statue. There's kind of like a guest bedroom down here and this fancy primary bedroom. I really liked this cool setup with the built-in closet space. I like how it has the gold accents in there. And then when you come upstairs, we've got a couple more bedrooms. Not that many because it's actually kind of tiny up here, but we have this big one. They have a balcony for this room, and then we have a small kids room. Really weird space in here. I gave him a bookcase door and had like a secret kids playroom hideaway, which honestly in real life would have been so cool when you were a kid, but it was just hard to use that sort of weird shape. So I struggle with that a lot. And then when you come outside, they've got a lot of the same stuff in the backyard, kind of like a grill setup and a table, huge pool. We got this nice hot tub. And then we have this room. This is the games room. I put a huge TV. There's ping pong. We've got a living room set up and music and a card table, some board games. I ran out of money in here, and I think you can tell. But that, my friends, is the fully finished $2 million build. Builds, plural, there's 4. But I worked really hard on this. It was a lot of fun. I hope that you enjoyed watching it. I don't know if you would want to download this, but if you do, it's on the gallery. Without getting too sappy again, I just want to thank you all for everything. I really have had the time of my life being on YouTube. I'm so grateful for all of you. I still cannot believe there is 2 million of you. I literally cannot even fathom that number. And I'm really excited for what's to come. So thank you again. Thank you for watching. Make sure you're subscribed to my YouTube channel so you don't miss the next one. And I'm gonna catch you all tomorrow. Okay, bye everybody. I actually have kind of a fun video planned for later on this week, so stay tuned for that as well.